Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Harvey's expression was icy cold as he darted his eyes at Everett. "What are you doing here?" "Mr. Ellison, I had no idea James was such a cunning one. I underestimated him, not knowing that he has been playing dumb all along," Everett fumed, choked with rage and frustration. Everett was convinced that he would have bagged Dilcorp had it not been for James. With his eyes trained on Everett, Harvey replied, "This has nothing to do with me. Regardless of whether you win or lose, it doesn't affect me." Everett suddenly felt a pang of guilt, but then, he continued in a trembling voice, "Mr. Ellison, I don't understand what you're saying." "It doesn't matter anymore, but remember, don't come to me in the future any longer. I want nothing to do with someone who has proven time and again to be a thorn in my side," Harvey finished and turned to his assistant. "Walk him out, and don't ever let him in ever again," he said. Initially, Harvey had thought that Everett was just the right amount of ruthless and shady. However, he had never expected Everett to turn his scheming ways against him. Deep down, Everett knew Harvey had figured it all out, but he could not bring himself to admit it. Then, he pushed on and said, "Mr. Ellison, I think there's a misunderstanding between us. We've been successful partners for years." Hearing that, Harvey remained silent without casting so much as a glance at Everett. Harvey's assistant came over and escorted Everett out, who knew there was no hope left in this endeavor, and so he left, feeling defeated and resigned. "Mr. Ellison? He's gone," the assistant reported. "All right," Harvey said in an icy tone. "Leave it. Get someone to keep an eye on Nicole." "What are you suspecting?" the assistant asked. Harvey's pupils narrowed as he explained, "Nicole's not someone who'll take a loss lying down." Harvey refused to believe Nicole would stand idly by, knowing full well what James and Rain's ambitions for Dilcorp were. The perfect strategy for him now was to weaken his enemies before they could amass enough strength to go toe-to-toe with him. "Understood," the assistant replied and left the room. Looking away, Harvey's gaze grew colder. He had always known of Everett's treacherous schemes. However, he was not aware of how stupid Everett was under the cover of his grand ambitions. With that said, he was of no use to Harvey anymore. Meanwhile, Everett had already gotten into the car downstairs, whereupon he ordered the driver, "Drive." "Yes, sir," the chauffeur replied and started the car. He brought the car forward cautiously, not daring to make any mistakes. It was evident that Everett was in a bad mood, so he was aware that he should not do anything on the road that would set him off. "Mr. Riddle, did the discussion not go as smoothly as planned?" Everett's assistant asked. "Harvey knows everything. He won't work with me anymore," Everett said, pale in the face. Without Harvey's support, Everett's future plans would just become more challenging. It would be great if he had taken over Dilcorp this time round. However, he had lost the battle, and to top it all off, he had lost it to James. What comes next then? The assistant's face blanched. All these years, each and every action of his had received the support of Harvey and the Ellison group, but now that they were no longer working together, all of his plans would be doomed before they could even begin. "What then? What do you think I paid you for?" Everett struck the ceiling of the car. The assistant flinched and timidly suggested, "Perhaps we can think of another way. We can try to take Dilcorp over from Rain. After all, she doesn't have what it takes to maintain it. Dilcorp won't prosper under her management." "That's easy to say. James is not an easy person to deal with," Everett retorted. If Everett had not carelessly ignored James, he would never have ended up in this situation. "We didn't have our guard up against him before. We'll be more cautious next time," the assistant assured in a trembling voice. Hearing that, Everett's expression softened. "Go sort out the arrangements." "Yes, Mr. Riddle." The assistant breathed a sigh of relief. Everett leaned against his seat with a leer on his face. "Just they wait. When I get my hands on Dilcorp, they won't have the guts to look at me funny anymore." In a blink of an eye, 3 days went by, and on the morning of the third day, Nicole received a call from Lulu. "Nicole, James has made a move," she reported. A frosty glint flashed across Nicole's eyes as soon as she heard that. "He couldn't wait, could he?" I know, we should make our move too, Lulu said with a hint of excitement in her voice. Nicole smiled. Sure. I'll update you when there's news. Okay. Nicole hung up and shook her head as she chuckled. Lulu must have been super anxious. Then, the twins came in and curiously asked Nicole, Mommy, what are you laughing at? Nicole caressed their heads gently as she said, It's nothing. Let's head downstairs, shall we? How about Daddy? Lana asked as she scanned the room for Jared. Lana misses Daddy. Jared suddenly walked into the room, prompting Lana to scream as she ran toward her father. Daddy. Seeing this, Jared bent over and picked Lana up, after which the family of 4 went downstairs together, where they met Daniel and Gloria. Mom, Dad, Nicole greeted. The twins then followed suit by saying, Good morning, Grandpa. Good morning, Grandma. Gloria smiled and patted the twins in the head, one of each side. Let's go grab some breakfast, shall we? Nicole watched as Gloria ushered the kids to the dining room for breakfast. Is there a way to solve whatever's happening at Uncle Dillion's? Daniel asked. The notion of Dillcorp falling into the hands of Everett was one they were not able to conceive. Days had passed, and that too without a peep from Dillion, which made it all the more surreal. Dad, don't worry. I will sort things out, Nicole assured. Daniel sighed deeply, anxiously shaking his head. I have no idea what our family has become, with all that infighting and disputes. Nicole bit her lip, hesitant to tell him the truth. Dad, they are not just fighting over Dillcorp. Their ultimate goal is to bag Riddle Corporation for themselves. Nicole had never told her family about matters related to work, and therefore, it would be understandable for Daniel to be out of the loop when it came to everything that had been transpiring. She had refrained from informing him about the reality of the situation in the company to prevent her father from being even more alarmed than he already was. Nicole pondered for a whole before speaking up. Also, James has helped Rain out in the planning process. Making Rain lose everything is next on his agenda. Hearing this made Daniel's jaw drop, as he had not even been able to process the events that had occurred before this. How can this be? We've misjudged him right from the start. Who knew that he would be the one behind all of these, Nicole added. Rain would not even have gotten this far had it not been for James Harlow. It's impressive how he could pull all of these stunts without anyone's knowledge while giving all of the credit to Dillion and Rain. What's going to happen now? Daniel frowned, furrowing his eyebrows and sighing as he thought of his brother Dillion. A look of determination flashed across Nicole's face as she replied, Dad, things will be fine as long as you know what's going on. You have us 3. We will do everything we can to ensure that Dillcorp doesn't fall into the hands of James. If anything, Nicole had prepared herself for this moment for the longest time now. Dillcorp shall not fall into the hands of James or Everett. Everything will go according to my plan. Hearing that, Daniel issued a huge sigh. All right, I trust you guys. Daniel knew that he had no influence over anything that was happening. To him, all that mattered was that none of his loved ones were harmed. I want you guys to be careful, okay? Daniel warned as he looked each and every one of his children in the eye. Relax, Dad. I will, Nicole assured with a comforting smile on her face. Right. Let's eat. Better not keep your mom waiting, Daniel said as Stanley came running down the flight of stairs. He too had overheard the conversation. Nicole nodded. Come on. All of them sauntered into the dining room, with Spencer and Samuel trailing in not long after. Then, the Riddle family had their breakfast in peace, allowing Daniel and Gloria to be more at ease. After their meal was over, Tia arrived to pick the twins up for kindergarten. Tia, we will announce the twins' identities at Spencer and Samuel's wedding. You won't have to pick them up and drop them off after that, Nicole informed Tia with a smile. Stunned for a moment, Tia went on to nod and respond, Okay, I see. Thank you for bringing them to and from their kindergarten all this time, Nicole thanked, feeling grateful for Tia's help, without which the twins' identities would have been exposed. It is my privilege to help you out, Ms. Riddle, Tia responded. After all, Tia had always done her best to cater to the needs of Nicole and her 2 children. Mommy, who will pick us up and drop us off in the future then? Nolan asked, feeling a little reluctant to part ways with Tia. "Your dad will hire a chauffeur and bodyguards for you too," Nicole replied. "I have to tell them the reality of the situation in advance, otherwise they'll have a hard time adapting to the changes," Nicole thought. "Okay." Nolan assumed a solemn look, seeming to have understood the situation. "I think Mommy had gotten Aunt Tia to send us to school for our safety. Now that our identities will be announced to the world, Mommy will have to arrange bodyguards for us because she's still worried for our safety," Nolan rationalized. "Mommy, we will be good," Lana promised once she saw that her brother had agreed. Nicole felt a surge of warmth in her heart as she witnessed the degree of understanding her children had displayed. She looked at them, gave them an affectionate smile, and planted a kiss on each of their cheeks. The twins then busted out in giggles, after which they tugged on Tia's arms. "Aunt Tia, let's go." Seeing this, Tia nodded. "Come, let's go." Tia glanced at Nicole once more before she turned and left the place with the twins. The rest of the family slowly left the Riddle residence one after another, with Jared giving Nicole a lift to the office. "Have you taken care of the issue with James?" Nicole smiled. "Yeah, don't worry about it. I have ordered Lulu to get someone to keep an eye on him." Nicole had gathered a significant amount of evidence during the period of time when she was watching him, and seeing that Nicole was confident at what she was doing, Jared decided not to pry into the details further. He believed that she knew what she was doing. After Nicole had left for the Riddle Corporation building, Jared signaled his chauffeur, ready to leave when he noticed a car driving up the street. "Is that Harvey Ellison?" Jared asked, his voice becoming icy cold. "It's all because Everett has failed again. On top of that, Everett had his own plans, which is why Harvey ditched him," Max replied. "Everett got ditched?" Jared narrowed his eyes. "Is it possible that Harvey is planning something big?" "Yeah, it seems to me that Everett isn't going to quit either. He seems to be up to no good, and has been pestering Rain for the past few days. However, the good news is that he has failed to do so and the assets of Dillcorp have been transferred away by Rain." A smile crossed Jared's face, and that was when he realized where Nicole's confidence had originated from. Max was stunned when he noticed the smile on Jared's face. He lost grip on the steering wheel, careening the car into the left lane. Alarmed, Max quickly swerved back to the right. Why is Mr. Johnston smiling like that? Did something ridiculous happen to Everett? Thought Max to himself. Meanwhile, Jared quickly regained his composure. "Don't worry about Everett for now. We can sit back and observe." "Yes, sir," Max replied. Still, Jared was not at ease, as his eyes darkened immediately after. "Continue your investigation on Harvey." "Yes, sir." Max put on his game face again. He was more than aware that Harvey's recent behavior was getting increasingly concerning. Then, Jared leaned back against his seat and began perusing the documents. Meanwhile, at Riddle Corporation, Nicole had just walked into the office when she saw Lulu, who had been waiting for her. "Rain must be sobbing her eyes out right now. James is one terrifying, heartless monster," Lulu muttered in a low voice, trying to mask the fact that she was gloating. "Where's James now?" Nicole narrowed her eyes, more concerned about James' whereabouts rather than Rain's. "I've gotten someone to tail him. He's with his lover at the Spring Villa," Lulu informed with a smirk on her face. "Rain's busy crying her eyes out while James is having the time of his life with another lover," Lulu thought. "Let's call the police." Nicole snickered and said with a hint of contempt in her voice. "Okay. I'll go ahead and do it," Lulu agreed, before spinning around and striding off. Nicole sat down, and there, a look of determination crossed her face. Everything should be over once and for all. Meanwhile, Rain, who was a sobbing mess, was accompanied by Dillian, who was busy cursing his heart out. "You fucking idiot. You took everything and now, what have we got left? What's this?" Dillian bellowed, livid and unable to wrap his head around the fact that James had played his entire family like a fiddle. "Do you think I was the only one who trusted him? You did the same." Rain wailed. A loud slap echoed throughout the room at once, and Rain screamed followed thereafter. Rain held her burning cheeks in her hands as she stared at Dillian, wide-eyed with disbelief. If it wasn't for you, that son of Goon would not have wormed his way into our family. How are you still so dense? How will we even live in the future? Karen shouted as she witnessed Dillian slapping her daughter. How can I even survive now? Karen panicked. Then, as she attempted to shrug off the bitter taste of betrayal, Rain yelled, "You wish to pin the blame on me now? If it wasn't for you two who pushed me into marrying that scum, none of this would have happened." Rain was the one who had been made to bear the brunt of it all, for everything she had carefully curated had turned out to be a part of a scam, an elaborate fraud. Yet, even as she suffered, her parents had opted to turn their backs on her instead of doing what they were supposed to, comforting her. Is this all my fault? Rain asked herself. Oh, so you're blaming us now, huh? Did you even stop to think about us when you two were plotting your clever little scheme to take the company over? Dillian spat. If she hadn't done something so idiotic to begin with, would we even have ended up in such a miserable state? Dylan thought. I did it for our sake. Had I been capable, I would have been the inheritor of the Riddle family's fortunes and everything in the company would have belonged to us, Rain said. It was obvious to everyone that Mr. Riddle Sr. favored Daniel and his children over everyone else in the family. At this point, Rain had no choice but to come to terms with the reality of it all. Hearing his daughter's words, Dillian gritted his teeth and bellowed, "You plan to seize Riddle Corporation? With that brain of yours? Don't make me laugh. Think about it, you gave Dill Corp to James. Had you taken Riddle Corporation, you would have given James the entire company." Rain was rendered speechless, and her face turned pale green. How could I have known that James, a man so sweet and kind, would turn out to be such a scum? Rain gritted her teeth as she stood up. I will go find him. I'm going to reclaim what's mine. Then, Rain quickly ran out of the house after she had spoken. Dillian became more furious with each second spent thinking about his predicament, and all of a sudden, he launched his foot at the coffee table, shattering it and scaring Karen out of her wits. She had no choice but to endure the sight of her husband flying off the handle. What about Preston? Our family is in such a major predicament, and yet, he has the audacity to not come home and check on us. Does he even still think of us as his parents? Dillian roared. Call Preston. Dillian ordered the housekeeper. Yes, sir, the housekeeper said. Not long after, she came scurrying back and reported, Sir, Mr. Riddle said he'll come home immediately. Okay. Dillian relaxed as he sat down. Clean everything up, Karen said through her gritted teeth to the housekeeper. With that, the housekeeper quickly summoned a bunch of helpers to clean the mess in the living room. Then, Dillian and Karen proceeded to wait for Preston's return. He was their only hope. Rain was on her way to Spring Villa after she had stormed out of the house. However, as soon as she arrived, she came across the sight of James being arrested and shoved into the police car. Rain's face paled, and she lost all the strength she had to take even a single step forward. This prompted her to instinctively coalesce into the crowd and wait for the police to leave. After that, she got into the car again. The moment she had plunked herself onto the back seat. Why did the police arrest James? Is it because of the things that he has done to our company? Will I be held accountable as an accomplice? Please head to Dill Corp, Rain ordered the driver. I have to get to Dill Corp. I must get rid of any evidence that can be used against me, Rain thought to herself, not wanting to be arrested and indicted as well. The hot afternoon sun was glaring into Nicole's office as they were both sitting on the couch, enjoying the cool air blowing in from the air conditioner. They were enjoying themselves, gossiping and munching on pieces of fruit every now and then. Oh man, you should have seen it. When James was cuffed, the look on Rain's face was priceless. Lulu smirked before she popped a grape into her mouth. It was quite a sight. I don't know if I should feel sorry for them. James probably deserved it though, Nicole thought to herself. Rain was also at the scene? Nicole asked, confused as to why Rain was present on the scene. Yeah. I found it strange too when our people who were present there told me about it. She was hiding from the police when they showed up. She quickly fled the scene after that and went to Dill Corp, Lulu informed. Nicole furrowed her eyebrows. What is Rain doing at Dill Corp? Is she thinking of getting back at us? But then again, she doesn't really have what it takes to do so. Noticing the solemn look on Nicole's face, Lulu asked, "Nicole, what are you thinking about?" "I just find it strange that Rain suddenly rushed back to Dilcorp," Nicole thought aloud. "Yeah, I find that strange too. She left shortly after arriving at the scene," Lulu echoed. After a few seconds, Nicole frowned. "Get someone to check and see what she is up to." "Okay," Lulu replied. "As for Dillion's family, you should also pay close attention to them," Nicole added. With eyes as cold as frost, Nicole thought, if these people can't play by the rules, they can't blame me for being cruel to them either. "Okay, but do you think they're trying to pull another damn move?" Lulu asked. Nodding, Nicole replied, "That possibility can't be ruled out. That much is true." As everyone knew that James had taken Dilcorp, the notion of Rain going to Dilcorp meant that there was still a chance for them to get a second wind. Lulu sneered. "They're just like gnats we can't seem to get rid of." Meanwhile, at Dylan's residence, everyone around the room was tense. Everyone present was essentially testing the limits of one another in the midst of this crisis, especially Rain, who had gotten a very bitter taste of betrayal. None of them had the faintest of ideas on how to solve this crisis. Instead, they were pointing fingers at one another. Nicole looked up at Lulu. "Do you think Rain really loved James? Or is it all because James was there to help her?" When Rain returned, she would find a million ways to exact revenge on James. Ironically, when the both of them dug their fingers into the pie that was Dilcorp, James had been the greatest ally to Rain, and was the one who had helped her climb the ladder. On the surface, it seemed that their relationship had only strengthened. Rain's hatred and resentment for James was now greater than ever, as James was the one who had helped her get to where she was today, and he had done all that just to cast her out in the very end. If anything, it was more humiliating than heartbreaking. Rain's hatred for James would only grow. The two of them are like two peas in a pod. Even if James broke up with her, Rain might not be able to benefit much from it, Lulu thought with a frown on her face. Nicole nodded along after thinking for a moment. "So, if James has been arrested, I'm guessing Rain won't be sad for too long." If James had gotten his side chick into this situation, Rain might have taken revenge to get even with James. However, now that James has been arrested, she might not even give it another thought and just focus her efforts into retrieving Dilcorp, Nicole thought. Nicole sneered. "Rain, it's a shame that you're a few steps behind." Then, she turned to look at Lulu. "Where's she? That lover of his?" If someone can be with James for this long, I doubt they would be easy to deal with, Nicole thought. She was taken away too, but she was released on bail soon after, Lulu replied. "Released?" Nicole's eyes narrowed, her voice becoming monotonous. Lulu pondered for a while. She wasn't aware of the fact that James had been deceiving Rain. She even claimed that she was a victim too. She agreed to work closely with the police, so they had no choice but to let her go. Nicole was bewildered. What does the police need her help with? If she wasn't aware of what James was doing, what could she do to help the police? Nicole asked herself. Well, according to her, James had transferred her some of the assets. She's innocent, on record. She even offered to help recover the lost assets too, Lulu answered. So, she was released for being cooperative, Nicole snorted. If James comes to know that his lover has betrayed him, I bet it will be a massive shock, Nicole said. Of course. Consider it karma for all the crap he had pulled, said Lulu as she thought. It would be understandable if he did this to gain power, but ultimately, his act of betraying his loved one is a step too far. Nicole chuckled and shook her head. All right, that's enough. Everyone must be responsible for their actions and be held accountable for whatever they have done. With that said, he will pay for what he has done. Not wanting to waste any time, Lulu said, what should we do next? Announce it. Lulu wanted to know what Nicole's next move was, as James's affairs were rather significant in relation to the business of the Riddle Corporation. Nicole narrowed her eyes. Yes, we can announce it. Okay, Lulu agreed in high spirits. As soon as the news is out, everything will be over once and for all. Dylan's family will be having the shock of their lives as they hear this piece of news, Lulu thought. Then I shall go and make all necessary arrangements for the news to be disseminated, Lulu said and stood up. Nicole nodded in agreement as she watched Lulu leave her office. She took a glance at the time, and a smile crossed her face at once. Then, she got up from her seat and returned to her desk to start working once more. The sun was setting over the horizon as birds rushed back to their nests before night fell. The lights of the Riddle residence were on as well, and that was when every member of the family returned one after another. The news of Uncle Dillion's family has been spreading like wildfire, I guess. Samuel shrugged, brushing off the seriousness of the matter. Stanley then looked at Daniel and asked, "Dad, have you checked up on Grandpa?" Daniel shook his head. "No." Nicole said, "We'll head to his place in the morning tomorrow." Daniel wanted to pay Mr. Riddle Sr. a visit, but ever since the fiasco came in full swing, he was worried that Mr. Riddle Sr. would not be in a good mood. However, Nicole had assured him that it would not be too late to offer some words of comfort to Mr. Riddle Sr. Tomorrow. Suddenly, all the eyes in the room, which were brimming with curiosity, turned to Nicole. Together, they were wondering, why tomorrow? "We'll explain everything tomorrow," Nicole replied. She had not gotten hold of the results yet, so she would rather wait until tomorrow when everything would be clear as day. "Oh, well, keep your secrets then. We'll see what happens tomorrow," Samuel complained. "Let's go have dinner." Nicole smiled and urged everyone to have their meal. Everyone walked into the dining room where the food was already served on the table. Everyone engaged in casual chatter, and just like that, the topic was not brought up again. Once dinner was over, everyone went back into their respective rooms. Once Jared and Nicole had coaxed the twins into going to bed, they returned to their room as well. Then, Jared went on to smoothen Nicole's hair out. "All will be revealed tomorrow." Nicole smiled. "Yeah, I hope it'll turn out well until the very last second. I didn't want to tell everyone, just in case the outcome changes." "There won't be any changes," Jared assured as he pinched Nicole in the cheek. Jared would do his utmost to ensure that everything Nicole did would go smoothly, and that not even the slightest hiccup would happen on his watch. Nicole's heart fluttered as she looked up at him, whereupon she bit her lips as she pulled him into a hug. "Thank you." Jared responded by giving Nicole a peck on her forehead. "What are you thanking me for, silly goose?" Jared had done all of it out of his own volition. None of it had been done with the intention of impressing Nicole. As long as Nicole was alive and healthy, he would be happy. Nicole tilted her head, realizing that they were inches apart. Their breaths synchronized with one another, and then, her heart fluttered once more. Jared gradually looked down and gently kissed her in the lips. Nicole, in return, closed her eyes and reacted out involuntarily. The next morning, the crisp and clear chirpings of the bird woke them up from their slumber. Nicole opened her eyes to the sight of Jared, who had just woken up as well. Looking at each other, Nicole bit her lips and gave him a coy smile. "You're up." "Yeah." Jared gently stroked her hair and handed her a shirt, causing her to blush. After they had gotten out of bed and washed up, they headed downstairs. During breakfast, Lana and Nolan went on to bug Jared and Nicole into sending them to school. Due to how persistent they were, Nicole could not help but to agree to their request. And so, after they had their breakfast, Jared and Nicole proceeded to send the little cuties to school. "Mommy, do you have any secrets? Would you mind telling us about them first?" Nolan lifted his head and asked with a curious look on his face. "Secrets?" Nicole was a little confused. "I don't really have any secrets," Nicole thought. "It's the secret you did not tell everyone yesterday. Didn't you say that we'd find out today?" Nolan pressed on. Lana, in agreement with her brother, butted in. "That's right, Mommy. Is it a serious matter?" The little ones had overheard the conversation last night regarding the adults going to the Riddle family manor. Over time, the little ones had gotten the impression that the family would always gather at the Riddle family manor if some major issue arose. That was when they would be left at home with Jared. "There's nothing. Don't think too much about it," Nicole replied, feeling a little shocked. She did not expect that the kids would be privy to whatever was going on. "But every time you guys pay great-grandpa a visit, it's always because something serious has happened. That explains why you couldn't bring us there." Nolan and Lana said with hints of sadness on their faces. "We're always left behind. Although we understand that Mommy did it to protect us, I don't like the feeling of being left at home alone. We would constantly be worried as well," Nolan and Lana thought. Raising her eyebrows, Nicole thought, "These two are so observant. They're really smart." Nicole patted Nolan and Lana's head and said, "Don't worry. It's true that something serious is happening, but this time around, it's something pretty good." "Oh, so, are we not allowed to go to our great-grandpa's house yet?" Nolan and Lana asked, their eyes downcast. If the matter in question was a positive one, they would not be as worried anymore. However, they still wished to go over and watch the drama unfold. Seeing how crestfallen the kids looked, Jared said, "If you guys want to go, we'll go together." "Really?" Nolan and Lana's eyes lit up. "Is it real?" Nicole bit her lips, finding herself caught in a difficult position. Samuel and Spencer's joint wedding is coming soon. Regardless of what, we'll have to let everyone in the family know who they are. Why don't we let your grandpa see them first? Jared suggested, thinking that the issue was not really complicated. After all, they were just informing Mr. Riddle Sr. about it a few days earlier. Nicole paused and thought for a moment, after which she replied, "That's a good idea too. We'll pick the both of you up after school and head there together." "Yay!" Nolan and Lana shouted. Their excitement prompted Nicole to tap their foreheads and ask, "Were you guys planning this whole thing when you asked us to send you to school today?" They must have planned to persuade Nicole and Jared on the way to school, and that was the reason as to why they had led Nicole and Jared along for the ride. He. Nolan and Lana smiled and giggled without giving her an answer. The car then came to a halt as they reached the entrance of the school. Nicole brought Nolan and Lana down and escorted them to the entrance gate. Once she saw that the teachers had ushered them into the building, she got back into the car and left. "These two little ones." Nicole shook her head with a slight smile on her face as she said in a gentle tone, "It's time for them to meet the family." Jared said with utmost seriousness. Nicole glanced at him, thinking that Jared was talking about their return to the family manor. With that in mind, she looked to the front without giving the matter more attention that it already had. Upon reaching the headquarters of Riddle Corporation, Nicole got down. Once Jared's car had left, Nicole turned around and entered the building, where she met Lulu as soon as she stepped out of the elevator. "Nicole, come here." Lulu waved the document that was in her hands. Nicole shook her head as she responded, "You went and picked it up early this morning?" "Yeah." Lulu grinned. "Come on, let's talk inside." After they had entered the office, Lulu passed the document to Nicole and said, "Everything has been settled. Dillcorp is officially yours." "Mine." Nicole frowned. "Why isn't it Sean's?" Lulu blinked her eyes in confusion. "It's yours." Lulu was puzzled, as the return of Dillcorp to Nicole was the fruit born out of her efforts. "Shouldn't it be under Sean's name?" Nicole asked. After all, Sean would be the eventual heir of the fortunes of the Riddle family. Nicole already had a chunk of the shares of the Riddle Corporation, so she did not want to add to that by having Dillcorp under her name. "Sean did not allow me to do it, and he refused to give me his stamp. I have no other choice." Lulu shrugged, having placed the subsidiary under Nicole's name as she was left with no other option. Nicole was shocked. Why would Sean not agree to have it? Based on what she could recall, Nicole had spoken to Sean about this matter before. He did not go into the details, but little did she know that Sean was actually against the idea of him being the owner. Nicole got up and walked out of her office, navigating the hallways until she arrived at Sean's office, where Steve was also present. "Sean, Steve, are you guys busy?" Nicole hesitated a little, deciding that she could wait for them outside if they were occupied. "We know what you're going to do, and that's why we're waiting for you here," Steve candidly replied. Hearing this, Nicole raised her brows. "So, this is the outcome of your discussion? What about your opinions regarding this?" Nicole could tell that Sean and Steve had their own reservations on the matter, so she decided that she would like to hear them out. You're the one who saved Dill Corp. Therefore, it won't really matter whose name it's under. As for Steve and me, we're still thinking about Preston, Sean asserted. Nicole frowned. It's not that I have never considered him, but Preston is genuinely not interested in managing the company. I've thought of opening a technology firm for him as it would be more suitable for him. Yes. Sean and Steve looked at each other and paused for a moment to contemplate. Why don't we do this? Tonight, we'll get Preston here to hear his opinions. What Nicole had suggested was a possible solution. So, they had resorted to making a final decision only after they had heard what Preston had to say. That's good. I'll ask Lulu to inform him, Nicole agreed. With everyone on the same page, Nicole and Steve stepped out of Sean's office. Jane then brought a cup of coffee and placed it on Sean's desk as she said, Nicole is truly a considerate person. Yeah, she and Steve think that they could not leave Preston feeling hurt and disheartened anymore. It's not that complicated. Sean sighed. Tonight, when we gather, the results will be out. Your efforts all this time will finally pay off. Jane smiled, and for the first time, she was not the stern and serious secretary she used to be. Then, Sean held Jane's hands gently and said, Follow me home tonight. Jane, however, was a little hesitant. After all, the purpose of the gathering was to discuss Dylan and matters relating to his family members. It was not any regular family gathering, so Jane felt that it was inappropriate for her to be there. Just join us. In the future, you'll have to handle a bulk of stuff in the Riddle family. Tonight, we'll be having what's considered as an extended family gathering. Nolan and Lana will be there too. Sean assured Jane. Hearing this, Jane agreed, if that's the case, I'll join you then. To add to that, Nicole was planning to reveal Nolan and Lana's identity, thus, it most definitely was an occasion Jane should not miss. You should get back to work now. We'll leave together after office hours. Sure. Then, Jane agreed and turned around to leave the office. Meanwhile, Nicole and Steve were still making their way back to their office. The entire issue with Harlow has not been resolved yet. I'm afraid we'll need a few more days as that scum's lips are sealed tight. He'll only admit to accusations that are supported with solid evidence. For the ones without any solid evidence, he would not even utter a single word about it. Steve gritted his teeth, thinking that the man was extremely sly. Even if he does not admit to it, he won't be able to get away with any of it. We'll see, Nicole replied with a frosty glint in her eyes. For all the things James had done, he would not be able to elude any responsibilities, not even a single one. Yeah, he won't be able to run away now. Steve huffed. Upon arriving at her office door, Nicole said, I'll get back to work now. All right. I'll meet Sally after work. See you at Grandpa's house tonight. Steve replied. Nicole nodded and opened the door to enter her office as Steve did the same. The both of them then got busy with their respective tasks. In the blink of an eye, the sun had begun to set. The Riddle family manor had also not been this lively in a while. However, the atmosphere had an eerie feeling to it. Mr. Riddle Sr. was sitting at the center, where he turned to Gloria and Daniel, and asked, Where are they? Dad, they should be on their way here. Daniel explained, as he and Gloria had arrived earlier. However, Daniel could tell that Mr. Riddle Sr. was already not in a good mood. Daniel knew that it was due to the issue surrounding Dillion's family and James. But since Nicole had stated that the results would be out that night, Daniel had to stay put and wait. He could not do anything to comfort Mr. Riddle Sr., because he did not know what the outcome of the issue was. While they were chatting, the trio of Spencer, Samuel and Stanley entered together. They were shocked when they did not see Nicole there. Nicole isn't here yet? I think they're reaching soon. Daniel glanced at them and gestured for each of them to take a seat. Understanding Daniel's signals and noticing that their grandfather was not in a good mood, the three of them composed themselves and approached Mr. Riddle Sr. Hello, Grandpa. Have a seat. Mr. Riddle Sr. said, his tone calm and gentle so as not to stress everyone out. The three of them looked at each other, sat down and remained silent. When they heard some noises emanating from the door, Everyone's gaze turned to it. But as soon as they saw that it was Preston, someone from the crowd gasped in shock. "What are you doing here?" The gathering that night was only made known to Daniel's family. They did not inform the rest, and thus, they could only wonder why he had shown up. "Am I not allowed to be here?" Preston frowned and answered with a question of his own. "Sure." Everyone choked for a moment. Then, Samuel invited, "Come and have a seat." Since Preston was already there was no way they could chase him out. So, they decided to wait for Nicole to come in before they proceed. "Grandpa, why do you look so angry?" Preston asked, noticing that Mr. Riddle Sr. had a sour look on his face. Could Grandpa be sick again? Is that why Nicole gathered us here today? He wondered. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked up and gave Preston a glance, after which he frowned and said, "Sit down." "Oh," Preston responded. Then, he sat down next to Samuel and whispered, "What's going on?"
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.